Blog Talk Radio.
Greetings, everyone. This is the Sound Health Options Show with Richard, Talk to Me Guy, and Sherry Edwards. Good morning, Sherry.
Good morning. It's a beautiful morning here, but I really feel bad for you guys. I saw a show about the drought. That's really causing a lot of havoc in your area.
It's bad. It's seriously bad. It's so bad that it's finally, they passed I don't know what that's called, not a law, that's some kind of legislation in California making even Southern California pay attention to water restrictions. There's always been this, thing. In Northern California, we've been at drought on and off in drought conditions for 7 or 9 years now. And in Southern California, we've just sort of always ignored us. So now, it's bad news.
Don't you ship a lot of your water south?
Yeah, there's a big old pipe. I mean, literally a big old pipe going across a big bridge called the Bay Bridge that pipes water to Southern California. Yeah, I mean, Southern California, in reality, is really kind of deserty. I mean, like Palm Springs, and the reason that Southern California used to be all orange groves and citrus groves.
Well, my statement about all this and why I brought it up is I feel like Mother Earth's energy is very unbalanced, very unlike we've been used to, and the deserts are switching around on the earth, and the rainforest, it's been raining here for 24 hours, so something is very unbalanced here, and we want to talk about this today after we make a few announcements that we're going to be talking about energy, and all the different kinds of energy that's going on. I'm looking at the chat here on WebEx because we're simultaneously broadcasting on Blog Talk Radio, and people can go to Blog Talk Radio and listen to the show. They can call in 347-850-1407, and if you're on WebEx with us and the sound gets bad, like it just got because somebody opened up all of their, 3 or 4 people opened up their microphones simultaneously. Sometimes the computer does that. And if you're on Blog Talk and you want to watch the show, because this is going to be a particularly important show to watch, you can go to our site, soundhealthoptions.com, go to the radio link, Blog Talk Radio, and there is a link there in blue, dark blue, beside that beautiful color bouquet that you see. And you can watch the show as well as hear it. And when we answer a question out of the blue, like somebody is saying there's an echo, well, that's when somebody else opens their mic and they don't shut off their speaker at the same time.
I have to interject that the artwork today for people who are on Blog Talk Radio, you're going to want to go to Sound Health Options and click on the radio tab and then the Blog Talk Radio tab. The images that Sherry chose for this show are really beautiful to look at. They're very colorful, but they're also quite beautiful. They're not orange, but they're just great images.
Well, Murray actually chose these, and I think they're incredibly wonderful. We are going to be using the Nano voice software. We're going to be talking about it in a way that I don't think we have talked about before in detail. And there is a lot of information and a whole PowerPoint. The reason I said come over to Blog Talk, come over to Sound Health Options and watch the show. I know there's going to be lots of people who want copies of what we're doing. We are going to post it on the show The whole PowerPoint are posted on the link here so that you can download this and look at it again and again and again, because it's incredible information. We're sponsored by Sound Health Options, Sound Health, the Institute of Bioacoustic Biology, and the Nano Voice. But I found an article I wanted to share before we start. Do you believe this, Richard? Our food is half as nutritious as it once was?
I was horrified. I can't say shocked, but I was horrified as I actually that when I mean, it makes complete sense when you actually read it in words. It's like, oh boy, yeah, shocked.
But true, look at how they've depleted the soil and haven't rotated crops. And the Steiner people have some really good things to say about repleting the soil. So there's been these average declines, 21% in magnesium, 29.82, almost 30% in calcium. And that's a very important thing for you to know today. Iron, 32%, phosphorus, 11%, potassium, about 6.5%. I've put the link in the chat in WebEx, so if people want to go capture this article, they can certainly look at it. Richard, have you ever grown sprouts?
I have. I was a sprout madman for a number of years. Partly because I love to watch things grow.
Well, you just put the seeds in a little bit of water, and you don't put them in soil, so they're not getting any nutrients, that, like we were talking about, the soil has depleted. How do they grow if you're only giving them water? Where is their energy? Everyone
theory. That sounds like a theorem.
Well, think about how big the sprouts get from such a tiny seed. Where does that energy come from?
Well, I think initially, in my theory, it would be that it's coming from the actual seed. It's coming from. I think the energy comes from the light that it's exposed to, or the energy it's receiving from the light.
From the light. Okay, well, it turns green, so chlorophyll. We want to talk about the energy of the universe today, and let's start with the keynote. And that's about energy from the universe. Did you read the keynote?
I glanced at it and was shocked and did something else.
Well, this is a keynote for July 22nd. I think it's incredibly important right now. It's a point of transition between the yellow-gold colors that all can be turned into frequencies and into Leo astrology, which is based on frequency. So transition, but right on that border from Cancer to Leo is a very important frequency, and I wrote some things about it here. And it's very important to what we're doing today. Bioacoustically speaking, it is time to bring out a significant factor when it comes to cancer and nutrition. We have had such an influx of people with cancer in this last week. Our loyal readers already know that when the body is in a state of stress, it calls out for the body's repair crew. Robert O. Becker, MD, states that calcium acts as the foreman of this healing team. Cancer food, also known as 5-HETE, a big long word, is nearly identical to the frequency equivalent of calcium. Picture this scenario. The body's in a state of trauma. It sends out, calls out for calcium to heal whatever went on, only to be provided with 5-HETE that feeds cancer because they are the same frequency down to the 4th decimal point. How do we know that 5-HETE is what enters the healing cell? We don't, but there are two other issues associated with cancer in the body, which, if present, are indicators that cancer is on its way, or that cancer is instigated. It's the frequency equivalent of vitamin A. It goes high, and that's a C sharp. And the frequency equivalent of the enzyme catalase becomes overabundant, becomes recurrent, and that's the next note of B. So this little computer program that we told you about, these things in your voice, that the calcitonin we're talking about is a C, the vitamin A is a C sharp, and the catalase is a B. That 5-HTE stands for hydroxyeostrategic acid or something like that. It's an endogenous ecosanoid, which comes from omega-3 and omega-6. So I've listed that on the site under keynote. Calcitonin is known for its ability to keep calcium balanced in the body no matter what the task. And that means just healing and flexibility of nerves and immune response and blood pressure and osmosis and strong bones, teeth, hair, skin, heart rate. The literature lists 117 functions. Go look them up. The misidentification of the body comes about when the frequency of something foreign comes into the body and is stronger or replaces the natural substances that the body works with. Now, with very few exceptions, amino acids, vitamins, and minerals, the biochemicals of the body, don't overlap by their frequency. That's astonishing to me. So here is this 5-HTE that comes into the body. It's made by a fault on arachidonic acid and hydrogen peroxide. It faults and gets skewed and doesn't do what it's supposed to do. And this is in Harper's Biochemistry, HARPERS, if anybody wants to read about it. And it creates the cancer food. Now take that cancer food away, have enough calcium, good calcium, available, and then the calcium will bind with the site that's in stress, not the 5-HTE. It's a great way of thinking about how to prevent cancer in the body. What do you think, Richard?
Yikes. Well, and I just got to the bottom of the page here where you talk about the, in my copy, we talk about a toxin in stress, DDD, which is DDD converted, DDT converted and stored in the midsection of the body. Yeah, and DDT is the stuff that they use to spray on crops?
Yes, and in your classroom, what happens when these poisons come in the body and the body doesn't have enough time to deal with them at the frequency they are? They lay down where they're most familiar or most comfortable, and that's that abdominal transverse muscle is the same frequency as this DDT and DDD, and so that's where you see people gaining weight in the midsection because they're poisoned.
That's the yikes part to me, is that since I grew up near the Salinas Valley, and as a child, when we would go from the Monterey Peninsula up to visit my grandparents in Palo Alto, as a kid, it was like a big deal to be driving to the Salinas Valley and see the crop dusters get hit by the spray from the crop duster.
Yes, and everything.
That means I would bet even money, or if I knew what betting was, I would bet more that I've had, fairly repeated DDT, like direct sprayed on my face, body exposure, and I've always had a midsection, heaviness, even though I walk 45 miles a day. So that's where I was yikes, like, oh my goodness.
Well, you have to go in and take care of the toxin first. Because if you take care of the fat, if you get rid of the fat that's insulating that, then the toxin becomes active, and then you get sick. So it's important to detox with this stuff. And ATP, adenosine triphosphate, you can buy that at your health food store. And there's a lot of chlorella and things like that you can, clay and whatever, that you can detox with. But you also have to activate this stuff. So going on a diet, a lot of that and getting rid of the fat, you're exposing the toxins, because fat's really your friend in that case. And we're going to do a class about that, fat being your friend. We're calling it Bio Diet. It's the end of the coming week on Thursday and Friday. It's 2 days, includes a text, 5 softwares, lots of materials, 2 days of class, and it's for donation only. You can pay for it if you want. We'd love it. If you have a lot of money and you want to pay for this class, it's $1,200. But if you want to come for a donation of some kind, and we ask people to pay something, $1, something, so there's an exchange, and we're going to end up asking you for data. And the more toxic your area is, the more you need this class. The more overweight people in your vicinity, the more you need this class. And you can walk right out of this class if you have a microphone and a computer. You can start a consulting business with the software that we're going to provide to you. That's pretty incredible, I think, that's going to happen. We have been using it.
I was going to go anyway, but now after the DDT conversation, I'm absolutely going to be there.
All right. I'll give you the frequency for that so we can go on with it. Richard is a bioacoustic practitioner, for those of you who don't know. Okay, Richard, would you like to introduce our topic?
I have to click. I have just posted a link to that class in the notes over at Talk Radio, and after I do this, I will post it over at WebEx. About an area that I love to talk about itself, and Sherry, decided this was a great idea, and I think it's wonderful. That of the show is the frequencies of aura, color, music, and medicine. And that's such a, well, I'll just read this part. If you consider, you've seen it on TV, the scientists put a drop of some mysterious substance in a machine that swirls and twirls, and out the other end comes a frequency graph that magically identifies the substance as some kind of snake venom, blood type, or biochemical component. Well, where is your energy body? Can you drink a frequency? Can frequency make you sick, make you fat, cause you to feel high or depressed? Einstein proclaimed that there are no solids. I'll pause there just to think about that. That's really, he really said that. There are no solids. Einstein, the guy with the great hair. We exist in a universe completely made of energy, as measured by. Our body is energy, our thoughts, our spirit can all be measured bioacoustically as frequency or energy. And we're going to talk, we're going to talk from birth to death. We use frequency to express our need and emotions and thoughts. Imagine a future in which our individual frequency is only identification, with the use of frequency-based biomarkers contained within our voice can be used to keep us healthy and emotionally balanced. Frequency is the basis of our universe, of our world. Frequency is all there is.
Well, I'm playing in the background Sequentia, Richard, and this starts out very, very singular, and then sounds start bumping into each other and creating other things, and that's the way our universe became created. This is Susan Alexandra, and I was trying to play it really, really low in the background. Sequentia, S-E-Q-U-E-N-C-I-A. Because I think this is how our world was invented. And from that macrocosm, then we become, didn't want to start there, our body as energy. There are many different kinds and ways for this to happen. We're going to talk about one tiny way to make it happen. And a way, an option. Well, why does that keep coming up there? I have changed this 20 times. Back to the beginning. Oh, for those of you who want to sign up for that class, call the office in the morning or go to classes. There is a booklet on the Nano voice and how to interpret the actual each frequency. But we're going to look at Nano voice just a little differently here. That is a great link for that. Thank you, Richard, for shortening that up. Okay, Colleen, write directly to me as to where you want it sent. Now, it is a very large file, and if it's not a Gmail, if you've got a Yahoo file or a email carrier, it will just drop it. It'll kill the whole thing. So that may be the issue, but I'm not going to take up radio time to deal with it. So Colleen, write to me, just my name, at Gmail. So you heard Richard say that frequency is all there is, all that we are. Yes, we are energy. Einstein proved it. We're all forms of energy. We're auditory energy and visual energy and kinesthetic energy and cellular energy and magnetic energy. Every thought, every morsel, everything we see, hear, touch, everything we breathe or drink, every person we touch becomes part of our energy field. And in doing that and listening to TV and reading books and listening to neighbors and parents and whatever, all those oughts and shoulds, we've lost touch with who we are, who we want to be perceived at, how we want to define ourselves. So we're going to talk about the Nano voice vocal, which allows you to look at who you are. Because everything that happens to you is sent to the brain as a frequency and then in turn is expressed through your voice. Now, some people do this through auras, and some people by hearing your voice, and sometimes by x-rays and CAT scans, and some people interpret your iris scan and your handwriting and the shape of your palm, how you walk, Feldenkrais and all those. So there's a lot of ways that people are trying to look at the energy of our body, which is measured as frequency. Frequency defines it, and we have been working for many years on this Nano voice vocal profiler. You may have heard things about it before, but I doubt you've ever heard it in the way that's going to be presented today. And you may need a pencil and paper. If you're going to do screen grabs, it's going to be furious. And I've asked you not to do that because they come all smeared and crappy. And if you want to copy this, we're going to put it up for you. Because Nano voice reveals your secret self. Like The Secret, the movie, it said you can have whatever you want just by thinking about it, by calling it to you, by creating your reality. But a lot of people don't even know what their reality is or what they want to create. And I've used this example before. What if it's your neighbor's wife? You want to create that reality, get your neighbor mad at you, have an affair, cause a problem in your own family, make the neighbor do without. So you can talk to this little computer program and say, I think I want to have an affair with the neighbor's wife. What does that look like in terms of harmonics and balance in my body? And Richard, just jump right in here if you want to say something. It helps answer self-questions. You can start a consulting practice with this. You can become a Nano trainer. This promotes self-health from an inner core, and most of us take our core from outside ourselves. While you're in there, downloading this at nanovoice.org, whoops, didn't want to do that. I want to grab this link, and Richard made a short link for us so we can go grab this chart. Now, this chart has come from many years of trial and error, of having people talk into a microphone, having this computer program analyze it, and then we've made a general chart. Now, this is for each note, but we're going to look at this today a little differently than just the notes, because I've done several shows on that. This is going to be by how people think. So we start out with Nano voice, just C, C sharp, D, D sharp. What we did was take the voice and divide it into music, into musical notes. You can get a lot of information about this just from Wikipedia. Go type in green, and it'll give you pages and pages of information about how cultures look at the color green, the musical note of green. So we've put it all into a little computer program for you. Punch a few buttons, and remember, you can get the Nano profiling manual, and there's a link on there, and this link with this PowerPoint will be on there soon. So we want to begin to fill up all of those notes in equal proportions. And if they're not in equal proportions, the person is not balanced, not harmonious with what they are saying. And this is lowest learner, and you can see that G sharp is way high. Normal is, well, there's only 97, so 97 divided by 12 is what? You can see that her note of G sharp is way too high. There are colors associated with each of the columnar positions here. Blue is for emotion, and she's G sharp, which is carrying out something physical, and she's very emotional about it. The red is reactive, the green is do and accomplish, and the yellow is think. There's a little chart for you to start with, that the person who's yellow uses facts and information and chronologies. They're like a lawyer, although they can spin really well too. The farmer, that's do and accomplish and create. They like maps. They like to grow things. Okay, fireman, future, reactive. Archie Bunker type is red. Say things out their mouth they don't normally mean or haven't thought about it. So thought and action is not really put together well. Feel, the minister, feeling blue. Well, things that are right beside each other, that can be conflict, that can be combinations. Things that are diagonal are especially hard. The green and the red, you're looking at earth and fire together. It just doesn't go well. So we're going to study these relationships and kind of see what's going on with all of them in terms of the Nano voice. There's a little bit more explanation here. The yellow would be like Alan Alda from MASH, the thinking type. The green, Haas from Bonanza. I'm telling on myself about TV. Very stable, sturdy, person, tell it like it is, wouldn't tell a lie, a lot of gut feeling. If anybody watches TV and they know these types of people, let me know. I just don't watch enough TV to make it happen. Blue, minister type feelings, emotions. And there can be interactions with all of these. You can have the note of C from back here on this chart, where it says self-power, ego, self-directing. You can have a lot of power there in that note of C, and if it's very high, they're going to be a bully, an autocrat. Obama has a lot of this note. Although there's been a transition with Obama, I've showed you some weird vocal prints where there's a total split with foundation and fantasy. He moved into that very, very recently. These are some of the ideas. This is what I meant by how you're going to furiously write. F and F sharp is money, C is ego, C sharp is justice, D and D sharp is do it with deeds, D sharp and E is do it with words. So this chart, I think, is going to be important for a lot of people. E and F is planning and ideas. F and F sharp management. G and G sharp physical follow through. G sharp and A follow through for useful purpose for management. A and A sharp spirituality. A sharp and B integration from one level to the other. And this chart also gives you B are the peacemakers, the lovers. They love harmony of humanity. A sharp, stress, relaxation, mental sharpness. A G sharp needs a stable environment. A G needs physical control and emotional control. F sharp likes to be of service with money and things. So does D. The note of E, they use words more than giving with action. The note of D sharp, and again, this is the frequency of your voice, changed into musical notes, changed into frequency, and then changed into emotions and thoughts, just because we did thousands of trials to find out what was really going on. So as we look at these nano voices, and you talk into the mic, blah, 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 and it changes your voice into sets of notes, musical notes. And then in turn, there's an interpretation. So that's what we're going to help you with, that interpretation. These things are very literal. The middle, if it goes up to the middle of the graph, then that's average. If it's below the middle, it's too low. If it's above the middle, it's too high. So we look at the relationship of each of these notes. How does blue work with the green in the voice? How does the yellow work with the red? And you saw in Lois Lerner's voice that blue, emotional. Now, I wouldn't have thought when she said that she was going to plead the fifth, I wouldn't have thought that was an emotional issue for her. I would have thought it was an intellectual one. But her vocal print shows that it's absolutely emotional. And if the government is going after her on an intellectual basis or a form basis, where's this paper and that paper and whatever, the only way they're going to reach her is through her emotions. Now, to go that way, and then they'll get some progress into what's happening. There are several people who have written really good books about personality and color. Carol Reitberger and I are about the same age. I'm a little older than she is. And she has written a book, What Color is Your Personality? And she uses those same red, yellow, green, but instead of blue, she uses orange. And I wrote computer programs, she wrote a book. And it's uncannily the same. And I would think the truth would be. And Richard's thinking about Pam Osley, who's been on the show many times, and she writes about your life colors, your auric colors. So we're trying to look at these colors as frequency, as music, and relate it to our personality. Valerie Hunt is doing scientific work. Now, Valerie's 97 years old now, and she has proven that there is an energy field. Like Lynn McTaggart took up some of her work, is doing it now, and Bruce Lipton. But she is the first one to scientifically prove that there is an energy field around the body. The body uses this energy field as its communication network through all of the brain and neural networks. And we put ourselves in tune, so to speak, with drumming and chanting and tones and singing and whatever we do to integrate our body. Acupuncture, I think, is the #1 integrator of the body. And you see this idea of sound and the auric field around Jesus and Buddha. It's been here for thousands of years. We still can't explain it. I think what is happening is each of our cells, like that little sprout, each cell is creating a magnetic potential and in turn a bioelectric signal. And we are thousands and millions and trillions of cells in one body trying to get along with each other. And we are all in one great big pot. So if I slap Richard, it's like slapping me, because my cells will feel it too through the hand slap. And that adds to my body's energy. Everything, every interaction adds to that body energy. And we look at the way people process information. And we're going to go through each of those colors, the red, blue, green, and yellow. And we're going to look at how each of those personality types integrate this information into their body energy. So there is the kinesthetic learner. You actually get in and do it. We call it kind of hands-on. There's the auditory learner. You hear it. Conceptual learner, that's the yellow. They can see a task. They said Tesla could not only conceive of a machine, but he could watch it work and see where the parts were going to wear out. That's pretty incredible, conceptual learning. Visual learner, you see it. I'm somewhat of a visual learner because I can go back and look at a page I was reading and see what was written there. Now, we said there is green, yellow, blue. I left out red. People who have majority of red in their charts, how do they function? How do they learn? How can you interact with them by knowing what the basis of their chart is? Even on the phone, next to them, we're going to get this on a little iPad. We've hired a programmer, and we're getting it on an iPad so that if you're talking to somebody, you can plug your phone right in there and see what's going on, or you can just listen and see how that red learns. They're thinking, they're logical, they're mathematical, they like order and details and examples and proof. I happen to think that reds are extreme right brains, but our society calls them left brain. They're left brain because they won't make any decision without all of the facts. And their ego is involved. They're much more intuitive than they want to admit. The red learns by conceptual visualizing, by seeing other people doing it first, by reality, prove it to me. Where they get in trouble, they waste time because they can't get started. They hate losing. They're very reactive and protective of them. Go around and say it a different way instead of saying, "Well, I don't think that is a good thing," or say, "How would you argue with somebody who said to you that that's not a good thing?" If a red is giving you a lengthy explanation of something, it's because they are secure in what they think. They'll either give you, "I'm the authority here, and this is the way it's going to be, and this is how it's happening," or they'll go into this long diatribe. You got them there, because once they start that, that's a clue that you're in charge. These reds can be impatient, abrupt, argumentative, angry, controlling. Controlling is their main issue. They want to control every personality. And if you don't think like them, you're wrong. There's no room. Now, this is some extremes. There's no room for you to be part of their life unless you think like them. My husband's somewhat this way, and he tried to make me eat tomatoes. It's like, I don't like tomatoes. They make me itch. So respect people's behaviors as if you would their tastes in food. If you don't like tomatoes, fine. If you don't like this idea, fine. It's the same kind of thing. They try to use force. They try to use bullying. They try to puff themselves up and look like they stand with their hips. They pound things, they throw things, and they could be very tactless. One of the things they do is give you a backhanded compliment. Well, that soup smells really good, but not as good as the one you made last time. So here's a compliment. Let me smack you now with the other one. And I've seen a red stand up and say, "You're making me mad. You're making me mad." And you just have to say, "And why should I care? You're making me pretty mad." They don't look at the other person and what they're causing in them. You have to teach them to feel. Control, fear, retribution, rejection, physical intimidation. You see this guy with his hands on his hip, trying to make himself look bigger, like the monkeys do. Power trips. Who is a red? Michael Phelps is a red. Archie Bunker is a negative red. Santa Claus is a positive red. Although Santa's right in there with the power trip, making a list, checking it twice. Going to withhold your toys if you're naughty. How they resolve conflict, they try to go back to whatever they already did, what worked in the past. They're very good at supporting somebody else through problems, but not if they're involved. And they don't plan for the future well. They don't make good lawyers, these red people. They're too reactive. They don't think it's true what they've said and how it's going to cause a problem down the road. Working with a team, they usually want their way, unless you can convince them otherwise by writing to them in an email or whatever so they can think about it rather than something that you've said to them. And a common thing for a red is that if you say something to them, they'll deny it or call you crazy or whatever. I remember one incident where my husband was wearing a tie with a suit and a shirt and it didn't match. And I said, "You gonna wear that tie with that suit?" And he said, "You, Miss Frump, you're gonna tell me how to dress?" But he never, ever, ever wore that tie with that suit again. He considered what I said. He made changes, but to me, he had to deny my perception. How to communicate with them, be very clear, have it in writing, give it to them beforehand. One thing at a time, don't change the horse in the middle of the stream, don't skirt an issue. Be right out front, write it down, give it to them to mull over, and then go back and check with them later. The yellow person, the intellectual type. Now this chart that you're seeing is a right-brained intellectual type. That's kind of unusual because the right brain side of the chart is from F sharp to B. And all of this yellow is mostly in G and G sharp yellow. Intellectual, thinking about how carrying something out to a physical, useful fruition. Yellows, they like to think and do logic, but they take it in auditory first, then they see it visually, then they conceptualize it, where that red person conceptualizes first, then they become kinesthetic and get involved. You can see why I said now that you're going to need a copy of all of this. How yellows learn. They like to hear it and see it. They like to hear how other people think about it. They like to discuss it. They like to go look it up. They like to get solutions. This is a good lawyer type. What causes them trouble, and this would cause a lawyer trouble, they don't have enough time to think about everything that's going on. They hate looking stupid or dumb or without the answer. They hate being made accountable for other people's mistakes. They don't like dealing with emotional issues at the same time they're dealing with these intellectual issues. And they constantly interrupt, meaning to me that they're not thinking about what you're saying. They're thinking about how they want to knock you down. They can be tactless. They can feel distant. They can challenge. Instead of having a conversation, they challenge you and try to overwhelm you with somebody else's opinions. And you come away thinking, God, these people hate me. But they can totally separate their words from all the rest of their being. And I think that's where lawyers come in here, because they can look at all sides of things at once. They love arguments. They can hit both sides of the coin and argue equally on either side because they like arguments. They tend to stare at you to get your attention and to say, you need to back down. They use knowledge more than anything else and somebody else's opinion to put you down. If you have enough time and you have all your ducks in a row, you can argue with a yellow. But keep all of the routes of your thinking in order or they'll run right over you. And don't take their word for it. Challenge what they say. You're making me mad. And red will say that. And there's combinations of red and yellow. And you come back and say, why should I care? Give them back their statement, their question. I cannot believe how late it is. We're going to go over. I'll hurry. Working as a team, develop a process or a system and follow that. Focus on objections. Be a strategist. Solution-oriented. How to effectively communicate with them? Always ask things in terms of a question. Always give them an out, or always give them the information of what you're asking for. Don't just say, what are you doing tomorrow? Because they'll balk at it. You say, I might need some help tomorrow. Do you think you would be available? Because as soon as you say, what are you doing tomorrow? They smell a trap. And they hate being trapped. You're laughing here. Are you a yellow? Is that what you're laughing?
Yep. Except up until the intimidation part, yeah, it seems so.
Okay, what does your vocal print say? Do you come up yellow a lot?
I don't remember. I black out when I see the vocal print.
You just look at the numbers.
Yes.
Okay, so green. We've got 2 more body types to go, and I'll try to hurry here. Green, now this is a whole brain vocal print you're looking at. They're all right in the middle. And most of the green is whole to right. So the green like to create images, and they use their intuition. A lot of spirituality. They like harmony of concepts. How they learn? By doing their kinesthetic, get it and do it. If they're going someplace, they like to look at the map and follow the map or make it. They can be inspired easily. They love something new. They're adventurers as well as a stay-put farmer. On one side, you have that stay-put farmer, and on the other side, you have that con man who goes around the world being somebody they're not and putting your money in their bank. Look at this. What causes green trouble? Jealousy. Remember that green was envy? They hate being ignored. They hate being told when or how to do something. You give them options. Options for a green. They can withdraw and not talk to you, and what's the matter? Nothing's the matter. And you know there is by the way they talk. And when you come at them with what they've done wrong, they lose all objectivity of solving the problem. They take on blame that's unnecessary. They pout, they brood, they cry. They can become hateful. They hold grudges forever. They can be very passive-aggressive. Tears, power tripping you. Tears, guilt, if you love me, you would. Blah, 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 blah. Women especially try to use seduction as a way to get their way. Resolving problems, bring in a third party here to be part of that team. Because if it's 2-on-1, they'll listen a little more openly. Create solutions or a lot of options and let them choose which option. They just want to choose. They want choice. Green wants choice. They come up with lots and lots of ideas. They don't like doing it the same way all the time. They can be agreeable and easygoing unless you cross them. You go behind their back, you are their enemy forever. With the yellow and the red, you can get bogged down in the details. These guys don't want details. They want the big picture. This is where we're going, over here. Now, let's figure out how to get there. The blue guy, now in Carol Reitberger's book, she calls what we call blue, she calls it orange, and they're opposites of each other anyway in the color spectrum. So we sort of put orange and blue together. So if you're reading Carol Reitberger's book about this and looking at this PowerPoint, you can see what's going on. So blue, this person is whole brain that you're looking at. G is the highest. That's physical safety, physical prioritizing. Very emotional person about justice. Their immune system causes them problems when they feel bad about something. So they like to gather information and then make decisions. They process externally. They learn by other people's examples. They like to build relationships. They like to go out in groups. They're caring and sensitive. Oranges can be they don't like insensitivity. They can usually spot a liar in a second. They don't like their security being threatened. Appreciation is the key to this type's personality. They gunny sack when there's a conflict. They save up everything and kind of hold it over here until they can't stand it anymore, and then they jump on you with everything you did in the last 2 years. They can be very manipulative. They can be very moody and silent and not talk to you till they're ready. A very good way for them is to write it all out, to get it out of their system. They, as long as they're talking about it, they're still troubled. They'll rarely tell you the solution they came up with because they don't have to. They don't have to talk about it after they already figured it out. So they power trip you with blames and guilt, silence. They just won't talk to you. I think I'm one of those because I don't talk until I figure it out. Resolving conflicts, find some other person who agrees with you. Or talk to them about emotions based on this, this, and this. What could happen here? Working with them as a team, they're very supportive, except they hate conflict, and they'll just walk away instead of being part of the conflict. How to communicate, respect their space, be polite, avoid emotions, look at it as solutions. They want solutions to what is going on. How reds see reds as negative and controlling and poor losers and challenging competitors. How reds see oranges. Oranges get taken advantage of because they are givers. They give way more, well, oranges and blues. They give way more than they get, and so reds tend to take advantage of that. Reds and yellows together, a lot of innovation, a lot of very new ideas, very novel ideas. There can be team players with yellow and reds together. You've got ideas, and then the reds run with the ideas. Reds and greens, they don't get along very well. The red tends to see the green as somebody who works too long for any kind of reward. How yellows see yellows. Yellows are usually visionaries, but they can really fight over who gets their way. There's a lot more going on here about how each one sees each other. I'm going to flip through them really quick because I want to get to the end because we only have a few minutes left. When we look at what color the columns are, don't get that mixed up with what color the note itself represents. So C represents red, but you can have a blue red or a yellow C. So when you look at the booklet that's available for you, How to Interpret the Nano, it's not about what you saw today, about looking at the personality types How you can use that, you know how to approach somebody in an argument. You know how to approach your audience if you're going to be speaking to them. So each of the notes also represents a color that has nothing to do with the personality type. What you can do with this, we can look at the frequencies of pathogens and begin to antidote them and shake away the cloak that pathogens make for themselves by knowing their frequencies. A lot we can do with frequency. We don't have to be threatened with ricin or any else kind of pathogenic invasion, because we can look at the frequency, the energy of it, and antidote it. We can look at what's going on with your hearing, like somebody getting older and losing their hearing. It's actin, potassium, and myosin 7. Myosin 7 is the note of A, and you can see in this chart A is too high, so myosin 7 is probably not working. We can look at allergies through this, through looking at the frequencies of the body. F is missing, so their kidney function is down. We were able to do evaluations of the 9/11 firefighters and found out that Mirex was what was causing the fireman's cough. We gave them the antidote, and the fireman's cough went away. Aspartame is the note of D, so you can look at poisons. If aspartame is way too high, you're probably having some kind of muscle issue. The information's not getting to the muscle that should. This is marijuana, D sharp. This is Michael Phelps, got caught with a bomb, and we evaluated his voice. He's a red. He didn't want anybody bothering him. So all of the different kinds of things you can look at. Crestor. The frequency for Crestor is the note of B. And we'll have to come back another time and show you how to look at what note equals Crestor. So if you're on it and your note of B is way too high and out of balance, you're probably overdosed. This is Christian Bale. Now he was yelling and screaming at somebody, and that would be a reactive kind of thing, and that would be red. So his vocal print would be red. He's yelling and screaming and dropping the F-bomb all over the place and screaming at this photographer, and we look at his vocal print and it's green. And green says, for a purpose, to accomplish something. So we know that Christian Bale's tirade that got a lot of publicity was nothing but a publicity stunt. So you can see a lot of information in people's voice. You can lie with your words, but you can't lie with the frequencies of your voice, because if we look at all of the frequencies and how our universe was created by adding and subtracting frequency, you can see that at its basis, our universe is frequency. And at our core, our deepest core, we are frequency. We came from the soup, and the soup parts begin to bounce into one another and make other frequencies. And those frequencies made solids. And the solids made us, and toxins, and apples, and whatever else is going on. We are energy from our macrocosm to our microcosm. I'm going to end the show by playing Sequentia. I did not think I'd get through all this. Actually, I didn't get through all of it. And we will put this up on the site just as soon as possible. Do you have any parting words, Richard?
What a great presentation.
Lots and lots.
It's good to see the overview of the whole really good picture sometimes. And it's really so powerful that it's, really what it is. We are frequency.
And bioacoustics gives you a way to manage those frequencies to support optimally who you want to be, by your body, by your thoughts, by your foods, by your wishes, by your intent, by your communication, by all of it. So I'm going to play the very first cut of Sequentia, and we're going to end the show that way. Susan Alexandra took the frequencies of our DNA. There's 4 components of our DNA, and she added and subtracted them using music in such a way that she was able to create every note. And I believe her math is correct, and I believe that this is how we were created.